Greetings, everybody, and welcome to this time to be able to exhale together. My name is Andy Smith. I'm one of the pastors at First United Methodist Church, and it is our hope that you're able to take these next few moments to just be however it is that you need to be. That as we pause in this middle of the week, that we just take some time to relax, maybe decompress, and just kind of process how it is that we're going through life right now. Many of us may be going through seasons where we're kind of finding ourselves coming back to things, whether it's back to work or maybe back to more of a social life or whatever degree that we are coming back. We may be wondering exactly how we are supposed to be dealing with that. And maybe even who it is that we are after all of these months. And many times it can be kind of hard to put into words exactly what it is that we are trying to do or who we are trying to be, or just how are we supposed to process through all of this. It's one more thing that we were not given instructions for during this time. None of us have really gone through a pandemic before, nor have we ever experienced what it's like to come out of one. And of course, we're not there yet, but as we are getting there day by day, we may be wondering, okay, so now what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to say? And how am I supposed to do all of it? And so as we're kind of trying to process that together individually and then also as a community, we may just not know exactly how to put any of that into words. And it's why it is helpful for us to be able to hear from other people's perspectives, whether it is being in a conversation with them or maybe just reading what someone else has to say. I have the pleasure of having a great friend by the name of Casey Rogers, who's one of the members of our church at First UMC Lakeland. Casey is a part of some of our ministry teams, and she's also a writer. And I'm going to show you here where you can find her blog post, Muddy Musings. And I would really encourage you to check these out, to subscribe to her blog post, because she does a really great job of just taking kind of little bits and pieces of her observations. They're never really long at all. It only takes a few minutes to read, but it is well worth the time because it's just a great way to be able to just see what is going on through her point of view, whether it's what she's doing or where she is. Or even just kind of looking out the door and sort of seeing life going on. And it's really helpful to have these kind of writers in our lives who many times can kind of put into those tangible words and passages sort of what many of us are feeling. And that's certainly what I've always gained from her work. And so here in a second, I'm going to show you just a little conversation that Casey and I had where I asked her, how does she get her inspiration? How does she go through her process? And then why is this important for us to, try to tap into our own creativity, or at least see the creativity and imagination around us? Because I don't know about you, but lately, and certainly these last several months, it can be easy to just sort of focus on what's right in front of us. And especially in these last few months, what's been right in front of us can seem kind of muddy. Just like Casey writes. But she is very talented in sort of looking beyond that and trying to see the bigger picture, but also noticing the smaller things, the smaller realities, and that those can be gifts as well. And so I introduce Casey to us as we have this conversation. And then afterwards, as a time of prayer, you'll actually get to read some of her writings to some music. And I hope it is a time of just peaceful prayer for all of us.
Okay, well, I am here with my friend Casey Rogers. Casey is a member of First United Methodist Church in Lakeland, has gotten really involved in some of our ministry teams, which has been fantastic. But Casey, I want to talk to you mainly today about your passion for writing, for poetry, for words. You have actually published some books, which is amazing. I really love Celador. And you have a sequel to that as well, which you can find on Amazon. Is there anywhere else we can find it?
Just Amazon.
Okay, That's pretty much where you go for books anyway. So I really recommend you pick it up. It's a great fantasy story about the power of words and where words can take us. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to meet with you today, Casey, is I really appreciate not only your books, but also your blogs. Just writing about the sense of the moment, wherever it is that you may be, whether you're there physically or, it's someplace in your mind that you allow us to have access to as well. So I'm curious, how long have you been writing that blog particularly? And then just in general, how long has writing been a part of your life?
Well, thank you so much, Andy, for asking me to talk about this. So I started my blog, I think it was 2011, and it was after I had self-published 2 other books, kind of about wisdom and things I've learned through life and poetry and travel and just kind of that kind of thing. And after that, a lot of people were asking me like how to get more. And I was thinking that was kind of, back in 2011. And before that, blogs were becoming really, really popular. And so I thought that was a good way to reach more people and people I don't see, but also challenge myself to continue to write just constantly and post pretty regularly. For a while, I was doing it every day, and then I would do every other day, and then maybe a couple times a week. And so I've kind of been doing it since then, just to challenge myself to always practice writing, because you're never perfected in the skill. You always need to practice and just write more and more, or whatever skill you have, whatever talent, you always need to practice that. So this was a good way to sort of continue that and challenge myself. In terms of writing as a whole in my life, I think I was a writer before I could write. I have a vivid memory. I think I was 3, I'm guessing. And at that time, I just had my 2 older brothers, and my little brother wasn't born yet. And I just have this memory of sitting around the living room floor with my mom and my 2 brothers, and they were doing their homework. So they were writing out like their spelling lesson or something. And I just so desperately wanted to do what they were doing. I wanted to write and understand what they were writing. And so I asked my mom for a paper and crayon or whatever. And so I was scribbling, pretending that I was writing what they were, because I so desperately wanted to know and understand what they were writing. So I just feel like since then, I've had this eager thing inside of me that always needs to be written down. Like I've just always had thoughts in my head or ideas or imaginative stories that have always wanted to get out somehow. And for me, because I guess I've just been more introverted, that happens through a paper and pen rather than speaking and being social and that sort of thing. And so that's kind of how I think it's stemmed.
Would you call it a spiritual experience for you?
As a whole? Yeah, absolutely. Especially poetry, I think. And in my storytelling and my writing that you were referencing, that has definitely surprisingly become a very spiritual thing, mainly because through story, you can address a lot of deeper truths. So through characters' actions, or through maybe what they are saying to another character, or a description of what might be happening in the plot, you can experience and you can kind of dive into something much deeper than just something at the surface. So I like to play with that a lot in what I'm writing, in terms of making something you could read on the surface and it just be, plot or whatever description. But if you kind of think a little deeper in it, you might see something a little bit more.
Does that, I'm curious because I sort of see it in this way myself personally with stories. Does this help shape your identity of who God is, or at least how God works among humanity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think through poetry, this is what sort of helps me there, in terms of specific words chosen to awaken something within us. I really like what Samuel Taylor Coleridge wrote. He wrote a lot about awakening the mind's attention to the lethargy of custom. So you're not looking at the world with just plain eyes, you're looking at it with a fresh look and hopefully wiping away something that might seem commonplace to see beyond it into the holy and the godly. And so I think you have to kind of have more attentive eyes to see through that, and maybe a heart that's willing to dwell there for a minute and see kind of beyond the veil of familiarity and go beyond that into something deeper, as kind of what I was talking about, to see maybe what God is trying to say through that, or what revelation might be through that.
And so, whatever it is that we are finding ourselves in the midst of this season, this week, this day, hopefully we are able to see in the midst of that some of that divine creativity that we are able to see through words and through images, how it is that we are connected to that greater purpose, that greater grace, that greater peace, and that greater love. And sometimes it can be those stories and those poems which help us to be able to detach from whatever it is that we are dealing with on a daily basis, and in many ways sort of reattach back to that divine image, and hopefully ultimately rediscover that divine image within ourselves. And of course, I hope that at the very least in these moments that we have had, you have had a chance to exhale, to just simply be at peace, and to hopefully be nourished and even recharged as we go back out into the world. And so as we leave together, we do so with just a few more words that Casey offers from one of her favorite works of literature. And so in this, may we have a great night and a great rest of the week.
Something that has inspired me for a while is some of Shakespeare's words, and he helps with the description of poetry and what it is, and I think that could be helpful here. If you've ever read A Midsummer Night's Dream, this is from that. There's a character who explains what poetry is. And he says, "The poet's eye, in a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven. And as imagination bodies forth the form of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name."